So, thanks for joining us today on Success Through Connections. This episode is brought to you by Legacy Realty Group, North Florida. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Legacy Realty Group, North Florida is your go to expert for all things real estate. They offer hands on service, unparalleled local and national knowledge of the market, and they make your journey seamless. So, thank you to Legacy Realty Group, North Florida, for your support. And today I have an awesome guest with us, Jeanne Maron. Jeannie, as I like to tell people how we're all connected. So sometimes I just meet people randomly, and that's how they end up on the show. But Jeannie and I have a little special bond going on there, everyone. So I've known Jeannie like practically all our lives because we have mutual relatives. And so we're kind of like cousins. We call each other cousins because we kind of are.
Sure.
That's how I know Jeannie. And Jeannie has turned a love of wine into a very thriving business in St. Augustine, Florida. I guess you took your love of wines and turned it into the Gifted Cork. And it's a really cozy, quaint store. I'd call it just a really comfortable. You don't feel like, oh, I'm not comfortable in this store. You feel really welcome when you go into the shop. And she didn't just stop there. She's grown it into a travel agency where gives people tours all over the world for on wine tours. So we'll get into a little bit of that in just a few moments. But I just wanted to say thank you, Jeannie, for joining us on Success Through Connections. Can you hear me okay?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Gotcha. So tell me a little bit about how did you get started with what was the aha moment that made you think, I think I'm going to open up a wine store? And was there a mentor or someone who kind of pushed you a little bit or gave you that little nudge that said, yeah, this is a great idea?
Well, it goes back to I had gotten laid off from my past job, and I went on vacation with my husband, and we went to Sedona, Arizona, and we both love wine, and so we went to some wineries, and they sent us to a shop that was a cute little wine and gift shop. And when we walked in, I was like whispering to my husband, "This store is so poorly put together." And I'm sitting there critiquing it and telling him everything that's wrong with the store. And he started laughing and he goes, "You need to open a wine shop." And that was my aha moment. I said, "Yeah, I like that idea." Because I had been playing with the idea of opening another retail store because I had had a furniture store for 23 years before I worked at JEA. And I went back and literally signed a lease within 2 weeks and went to the gift show. And I just started it up just kind of from my own aha moment. And I do have a friend that had been in the business for 30 years. And I told him I wanted to pick his brain. And he was a sales rep. And I told him that if you help me put together my first lineup of wines, I'll give you 60 of the spaces. And so he did, and we sat down and picked out the wines from him, and then he helped me fill in the other 100 well, I started with 120, so he helped me fill in the other 60 with other distributors. And I told him it was up to him if he was going to keep that space because he had to service me well and make sure that my wine sold. And he gave me a lot of good advice about how to market the wines, what the typical markup is in wine, that type of thing. And as far as the retail part, I knew that on my own because I had had a store for 23 years.
And you were a marketing expert from the furniture store. I mean, and that's your background, isn't it?
Well, thank you for calling me an expert. I I I like to see things grow organically, but I do have to get out there and push my store and push myself in the community. And I also let's see,
Well, let me ask you, how do you push yourself out there? You've got to get the word out there. You have a small shop here in St. Augustine. You can't rely on the tourists just stumbling in and finding you. So how do you network and make connections so that people come to your store or purchase online or however they buy it? How did you grow that?
Well, I did it basically 2 ways. I did it with paid advertising and social media, and then I also network myself in a lot of different organizations. And I support the community a lot. I basically limit it to how many donations I make during the year, but I'm pretty generous to the community, and I like to get my name out in a lot of different venues and different organizations.
I definitely I see that with what you do. I know that you're very connected to charitable causes, and I just think that it's just so wonderful that you do give back. How do these uh organizations that you give to, how do those connections help you in your business?
I'm building people to be my mouth, it's like every person I know gives referrals to other people they know. Or if you're going to St. Augustine, Zelda, I would assume that you're probably going to stop by the store, even if you don't want to drink wine or see what I have. You'll probably just stop by to say hello. And if you have guests, you introduce me to your guests,
I
you
stopped.
know.
Is I have to tell our audience, you have more than just wine in that store. You have cute little gifts and tea towels and all kinds of goodies in that store. It's an incredible store. So yeah. I'm always going to stop in and say hi if I'm not going to have some wine, and you do have wine tastings. Tell us a little bit about that.
We do wine tasting every single day. That was a concept I created from the very beginning. If you've ever been to a winery out in wine country, when you walk in, you can do a tasting of their wines. Well, I wanted to take that one step further and change up the wines every month because I wanted to keep it fresh. I wanted to give people a reason to come back every single month. So I created a theme, and every month it's based on a country or a region, and I always have different wines. I also keep a spreadsheet of what countries I did what months so that the people that come every single May is not going to see that I have South Africa every single May. I want to make sure that I have a different country in the same months each year because people tend to come to St. Augustine the same month every year. They come during spring break or they come just before Christmas. And so I want to make sure that I have a different theme going on so that they see the variety that I offer. And I've actually got over 500 different wines in the store, so they can see pretty obviously that I have more than just one country. I've got probably about 15 countries represented.
So do you have there? It's like I had no idea that there were that. I know California and what, France.
There's a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I know. There's only because I see your emails all the time, so I know they come from all over the world. So
Exactly.
you collaborate with people to help you with your business. How do collaborations work with you?
Um, Probably the main collaborator would be my wine reps because they do give you a lot of support. They give you sample bottles when I buy wine. Sometimes they'll give me a sample so that I can taste people on it and create some interest in the wine without spending my own inventory. And they also do events. Like I do events a lot. I'm an event planner, so I enjoy doing events. And it also brings people to the store. So a lot of times the reps will be my guest pourer. They'll show up and they'll pour wines that they sell to me, and they can talk about the different areas. And it just gives a different mouth to to people, and they come because they're excited to meet the reps. And sometimes I even have winery representatives. So, you can get all different levels of people in the store that are presenting their product.
What advice would you give another entrepreneur about how to leverage their network to build their business success, especially in a niche market like yours is a niche market?
It is a niche market. but it's something that everybody can use. So it's kind of funny because I have a friend that's trying to get me in a BNI group, and it's like, well, everybody is my market. So it would be great to have another 50 people advertising my store, but that is not the only group. I would, I'd have to join every group out there because there's wine drinkers everywhere. But what was your question again? I get off on my tangents.
Like, I'm the wine gift giver. It's like, I
Uh-huh.
them as gifts because pretty much everybody likes wine or has a drink. So, or if you have a party, you have wine out there for your guests. So I love giving that as a gift. So even if you're non-drinker, you give it as a gift. Put a pretty bow on it.
Right. And also, I have a very big cheese case in my store. So some people come in just for the cheese. It's gotten to the point where I'm really the only game in town that's selling cheese downtown. And if somebody wants a good selection and my prices are fair, they come in and I'll get people that'll buy, 3 or 4 bars of cheese, crackers, all the little things that go on top of the cheeses. And they may not buy a stitch of wine, but that's okay.
It's okay. They're coming and they know to go to the Gifted Cork.
Right.
They know where to go. So are you
Exactly.
carrying cheeses that you wouldn't necessarily find in the um like I don't want to say in the grocery stores, but even in the the like the what is it? Not the fresh market, but the Whole Foods and all. So they're, just different types of cheeses that you wouldn't find everywhere.
Yeah, I have both. I mean, because some people want to go with something they're comfortable with and they've heard of it. And then I've got some cheeses that are a little unique. So it's a little of both. And the real unique ones tend to be kind of pricey, and you have to have some things that are in everybody's price range.
Sure. Like the small, the medium, and the large. Pick which one. So, how do you maintain these connections and build newer connections besides going to networking events and hosting events? Do you do anything else? Like, how do you gain more customers or uh, distributors, and how does that work?
Well, I'm in a unique business because I'm in a tourist area. And so I have to recreate my customers every single day. So I've got my base of more locals, and my locals literally go from Jacksonville down to Orlando and over to Ocala. I call those my locals because they come once a month. They stop in every time they're in St. Augustine, and they just love to go to St. Augustine. But you've got new people every single day. So I do have to advertise a lot in the coupon magazines and that type of thing that are handed out for free to all the tourists. And I also have a little program with the concierge. I don't know if that's the plural, concierges at the different hotels. And they have cards where they can send customers to me and they get kickbacks, and my customer that they send to me actually gets a discount too. So they're my mouths out in the community trying to sell my store because hopefully they like me. I mean, I would think that they're going to like me if they're sending people to me. And I just, I like to have a good reputation.
Well, sure. So how did the travel agency come into existence? What was the aha moment? Was it somebody who said, "Hey, Jeannie, this is a good idea," or did you see somebody who was doing it wrong again? I love that.
Um, I love to travel. That's probably one of my top things when I say my interests on the outside. And so I've been going to wineries and wine destinations ever since I opened the store, really, even before that. And so it was kind of like, I should take my customers with me. Some of my main customers. I have a wine club, and I have customers who've actually been in my wine club for 5, 10, 15 years. And it's like they're very loyal to me, and they have asked over the years, why don't you take us on a wine trip? We'd love to go see these wonderful places. You talk about Napa and you talk about Oregon. And it's like, we want to go. And I said, well, that's easy enough. And so I'm very organized. I put together a very fun trip, and I took people 4 years ago is when I started, and I took my first group to Napa and Sonoma, and they absolutely loved it. We went to wineries that I had connections with, and actually, a lot of the wineries gave my guests the discounts that I would get. So that gave them an added benefit to go with me. And it just kind of compounded. And so I said, hey, I'm going to make this a business. So I was going to open a travel agency, and I checked into all the details on how to do it. And I went on a cruise with my husband, and I met this guy at trivia, and we were just introducing ourselves, and he found out that I did these tours at the store. And he said, you need to be a travel agent. And I said, well, actually, I've been checking into it, and I'm thinking about opening a travel agency on the side. And he says, no, you really can't do it that easily. You have to get accredited. You have to be recognized in the industry and all this other stuff. He says, why don't you just come work for me? And I was like, tell me more. So he told me more, and the commission status was really good. And when I got home, I reached out to him. He sent me a contract, and the contract doesn't really lock me in beyond my relationship with him, but it just makes sure that I'm not competing him against other people. So I work solely for him right now on the travel agency side. And I get all the benefits of travel agents, and I can book cruises for my friends and that type of thing. And I get discounts on hotels, and it's been very beneficial, even for my own personal travel. I get my commissions back on all my tours and my my
I love
cruises and stuff that I do.
how you met him at a trivia game on a cruise. How see, it's all about the connections. You just never
Sure.
know who you're going to meet and where you're going to meet them. It's like there you were in a out of town in a wine store, and you thought, this is wrong, this is wrong, I can do it better. And you did. So it's all about those connections, how it works. So that is so awesome. Jeannie, I thank you. I want to ask, I always ask my guests a couple of questions that have nothing to do with this subject, just about you.
Okay.
Our audience can learn something about you and your personality. So first of all, I'd like to ask you, if you're giving advice to yourself when you were 30, what business advice would you give yourself?
Oh. I was in a family business, and I probably would have said, get out and do your own thing.
I can relate.
I mean, I love my family and I love the business that I was in, but I see people that have the same background that I did as far as education. I have my degree in public relations, and I had nonprofit background and that type of thing. And I would probably be running a very large nonprofit right now, or doing something very different. And it was, because I was kind of locked into the family business, I didn't spread my wings.
To spread them sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, you got to follow your dreams. And, unfortunately, if you go into a family business, they kind of suck you in, and there's nothing you can do. And you never want to let your family down. So you do your darndest for the family, but it may not be your dream.
It's true. So if you're watching television and you're scrolling through and this is A or a B answer. So A is if you're scrolling through the TV, a movie comes on that you've seen a million times and you love that movie, so you're going to watch it again. What is that movie? Or what is your favorite book?
Oh, goodness. I'm definitely more of a movie or TV person, and I would probably say like maybe Dirty Dancing or Sound of Music.
Okay. I would have not figured that, but that's very so what's next for Jeannie?
Um, well, definitely more wine tours. I've been doing one or two a year, and so eventually I'd love to get to the point where I maybe do 4 or 5 a year. They do take a lot of planning, and of course, it takes me away from my husband. But I still love it, and I know I'm good at it. Um, I would say probably in the next 2 to 3 years, I'll start looking at retirement. So if anybody wants to buy a wine shop, contact me.
Final question, which is how does somebody reach out and get in touch with Jeanne Maron of the Gifted Cork?
Very easily, you can email me at Jeanne, Jeanne, at thegiftedcork.com, or you can call me at the store, 904 810 1083, or just pop in and talk to me. I'm there every day but Wednesday and Sunday. So I would love to see you, but that doesn't mean we're closed. We're open every day of the week.
It's the Gifted Court in St. Augustine, Florida. So,
Right.
Jeannie, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. And everyone, just remember, you never know where those connections will bring you. So keep making connections.